this weekend on Rogan, which you've seen already, but I want to then refresh your memory on the controversy that surrounded Aaron Rodgers for a long time. He had some pretty interesting takes on what's happened with the NFL's absolutely insane COVID virtue signaling.
They didn't give a f***. You want to play football? Take this f***ing thing. And I want you to do it publicly so that I can get more money out of those other people that are thinking about it and they're on the fence.
Yeah, and then we're going to virtue signal to say, look how righteous our league is. We have 95% compliance with the vaccine.
Compliance.
And if you don't, we're going to send a stooge
It's like pre-bleached D. Snyder.
To show you graphs.
Does look like a bit of a douche there.
Your vaccination
I'm just saying it just doesn't
percentage
look
of
like
your
a
team compared to the rest of the league, which actually happened.
Really?
Yeah.
What was the stooge like?
Oh, I mopped the floor with them.
Did you?
Yeah. See, again, that's why people are like, no one knew your vaccination status. You lied to your teammates. No. Day 3 of training camp, they sent this stooge in, and he showed these slides about what your vaccination percentage was in your team, where you compare to the rest of the league. And I started asking him questions about liability. Oh, I'm not a lawyer. Okay.
The legal community will be stunned to find out you are not amongst them. So it's not because he's famous. I think he makes some good points, and he talks about specifically the protocols in the NFL and how they make no sense, poking holes in it. Here.
Well, it's not only going to affect your day-to-day status on the team, but your ability to get a job, your ability to keep a job, your ability to get a tryout if you get cut from this team, because you want to put a percentage above 90% of your team where you guys can have some sort of like special virtue. Like, look how amazing we are. We're above the 90% threshold here.
And then
they scared teams and said, if you had an outbreak caused by a non-vaccinated player, you not only forfeit that game if you had enough players out, but you wouldn't get paid for that week.
And this is something that's important for everybody to understand, because I've heard some liberal commentators discussing, saying, oh, comedians want to be able to say whatever they want, but they're a very small percentage of the population. It doesn't affect you. Hold on a second. The ability to speak freely affects you. Oh, these star NFL athletes, it doesn't affect you. Oh, so they can't go out and make millions of dollars in the field. Hold on a second. It affects you in the same way if your employer or if the government decides to exert pressure on your employer so that you now lose your job prospects. Losing your freedom, and by the way, I don't mean sort of in a nebulous way, your very fundamental freedoms, bodily autonomy, right? The right to privacy. Of course, it affects all of you.
Hey, but look, it takes an Aaron Rodgers to do that in the NFL. If you're a third-string quarterback trying to make the team, what his point was, third-string quarterback, it doesn't matter why you're not getting the vaccine. You could have a health condition. You have some history with vaccinations. You could have some other things that make it to where it's not a safe thing for you to do. And there was no out just because the NFL wanted to look good. It took an Aaron Rodgers who said, I'm one of the best quarterbacks in the league. What are you going to do?
Aaron Rodgers, of course, was ripped all over the media for his stance on masks and vaccines back in the day. And by that, I mean like yesterday.
Here's my issue with Rodgers. When he said the method by which he felt he was immunized, there's weak science. And by weak science, I mean peer-reviewed, double-blind, what's the sample size, et cetera. There's not strong evidence scientifically that he is
vaccine
immunized. And what that tells me is this, guys. It tells me that Rodgers, by the way, a lot like Kyrie Irving to me, they have intellectual pride. It's important to them that you think that they're smart, right? Okay. But Aaron, when you then get into basically quack medicine,
you don't want
what
us
you're showing me is you really don't have the critical thinking abilities to pick which and choose which rules to follow.
So that was then. Now, and this is why we're allowed to talk about this on YouTube. Isn't it wonderful? Mm-hmm. Yeah. The CDC's new COVID recommendations literally say unvaccinated people now have the same guidance as vaccinated people.
What?
YouTube recently removed a policy that stopped users from questioning the effectiveness of masks.
Quietly.
Now, let me just be clear about this. The reason they removed that is because they don't work.
Watch Louder with Crowder live, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.